Hey guys, welcome to another show here at Fox 5 Live inside Washington, D.C.'s Fox 5 D.C. Digital Newsroom. I'm joined by intern Amber today, and we're also going to be joined by a special guest, Mike Thomas from Fox 5 D.C., weather guy. He's coming in to talk about weather. There's a big flash flood warning in the area, and he'll give us more details on that. So stay here with us for that coming up next. You can see already the live shot of the White House right now. Hot, hazy, steamy. I felt like I walked out into a shower when I walked outside today. So we're going to bring you a lot of stuff today, guys. Stay on our stream for live and breaking news, anything that we got going on around the country, around the world, whatever breaking news sources we get in, we'll bring them to you live. All right, guys, we're going to take a short second break, and Mike Thomas is going to join us next, so stay with us. All right, guys, we are joined in studio by Mike Thomas. I told you guys he was coming in, so here we go. Let's set it up. Why are you here today, Mike?
Well, because it's raining.
It's raining, and there are warnings, and a lot of you guys are probably joining the stream because you see that headline. Tell us what's happening in the DMV this weekend.
Yeah, well, let's start with now, and then we'll go on to the weekend. So, which one are we looking at here?
I guess we're here, but which one is the best for you for these?
Let's do. Let's pull up the warnings first, because I want to start. If you
that one?
Yeah, let's go this one.
Okay.
If you live in Montgomery County, I mean, I've gotten tweets all morning from folks talking about how heavy the rain's coming down. It started about 2 hours ago, small little storm that has blossomed into this big, epic storm of heavy rain. They just issued a flash flood warning, and you can see it on your screen there, until 2:45 for Montgomery County. That's mostly Gaithersburg and locations south and all of eastern Montgomery County as well. It's still raining. The storm's going nowhere fast. Parts of the county have already picked up like 2 to 3 inches of rain.
Whoa.
And again, this is only the beginning. We're expecting it to get much worse as we head into the late afternoon, evening, and nighttime hours here. And it'll get more widespread as well. Right now, it's kind of isolated to western half of the Beltway. Looks like towards Prince George's County, if I'm looking on your radar right. Or on my radar.
Yeah.
Northern portions of Prince George's County, northern half of the Beltway, starting to get into it as well. Because of how heavy it's coming down, they did go ahead and expand. Originally, the flash flood watch was not going to start until 2 o'clock. they decided, we better kick it up now. So flash flood watch now in effect for everybody. Other flash flood warning, of course, is for portions of Fairfax County. Good news here is the rain's kind of dwindled. It looks like you're getting a break, but still earlier today through portions of Fairfax and Alexandria, you had 2 to 3 inches of rain there. So that's that flash flood warning there.
Okay.
So again, with these warnings, just be aware. Don't cross any flooded roadways. I hate it when I turn on Fox 5 News in the evening and I see that there's, people getting water rescues and all that. So avoid that, guys. If you come across a flooded roadway, it only takes 6 inches of water that can move your car away.
To damage your car.
Yeah. Everyone remembers the dramatic videos out of Ellicott City last year. We don't want to see any of that.
Just a year ago this weekend,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, actually a 1-year anniversary, kind of eerie.
My
like
goodness.
that.
So that goes on into this evening.
That
and then...
all night tonight. You can pull up that watch now. Go ahead and pull up Special Projects 2, and there you go. That is your flash flood watch. Again, they pulled it up early because we're already starting to fire some warnings around. I would say next location to watch is northern portions of Prince George's County. Looks like it's raining pretty good there. Now, it did just start, but again, these storms, they aren't moving. They pop up. They will stay there until they rain themselves out.
Unlike earlier this week where we get those quick blips,
right? These will not be quick, and the coverage is only going to get more widespread as we head into the afternoon. More and more are going to start to fire, and by the evening hours, it's probably total coverage. Lots of folks on my Twitter asking me about the Nats game tonight.
Oh, yeah. Not a good chance.
Yeah, trouble.
Bummer.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's rain out tonight.
If you guys are trying to go to the game, let us know in the comments. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, welcome to the stream. Mike Thomas is in studio, weather guy. So what can we expect going into the weekend in the DMV area?
So, well, we have some good news here for the weekend. So it looks like Saturday's going to probably start with some showers. They'll continue into the afternoon, but more hit or miss. It won't be as bad as today. Again, flash flood watch stays into effect until 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. But I think the worst of it is really tonight. And as we get into the morning, it's lighter. We get into the afternoon, it's hit and miss. It's cloudy. It's windy tomorrow. Tomorrow's not a great day.
Yeah.
Temps in the 70s, one of the coolest days we've had of the summer, in fact. But again, it's because of the clouds and the rain and the mist. Good news is we were able to clear up Sunday. So Sunday gets some sunshine back and
awesome.
Happy times. And,
okay, and what's going on right now? We have some viewers that have been tweeting you.
Yes,
some video.
Some video from Montgomery County. Thank you, Jamaica Rogue. She's the best. She always sends me a lot of the tweets.
Check it out.
So of course, rain, as you mentioned, Molly, is always really, really tough to get on camera, but she's trying her best. But you can see all the puddles there already forming. Again, this isn't dramatic. We're not near rivers and streams, and she should stay away from those, by the way, because those are probably flooding. But you can kind of see how heavy the rain is coming down. This is at Wheaton Glenmont area. So, and kind of look at the waterfall going down the stairs there.
It's amazing.
So.
But like we said, it is tough to get on camera, but sometimes it's so amazing you want to get it and you can't quite capture it on a phone.
Right. It's tough because the phone's not high enough quality.
I know.
One day we'll get there.
But nice. If you guys have any more videos or anything to tweet, you can tweet at Mike T Fox 5.
Yes, and I'll be tweeting any watches and warnings here as we go through. Gary's going to be in shortly, and he will take over.
Awesome.
He'll take over because I'm tired and I need.
You've been here all morning.
I need my beauty sleep.
What was it like when you came in early? Was it still misty?
No, it was super. It was super fine. Actually, we had some clear skies. Tucker was down at the Zip Trip today talking about sunshine. So they had sun.
Changes so fast.
So fast, but they lucked out. So because the western half of the Beltway, it's been raining for 2 hours, whereas they're in the eastern half in Congress Heights, and they stayed dry the whole Zip Trip. So they lucked out there, but again, it's really starting to fill out. Go ahead and take Special Projects 1 more time. Because this is the live radar, guys. So you can see, I see another little cell popping up very quickly there up towards Gaithersburg, just north of it, probably up towards, what city's up there? I don't know. North of Gaithersburg, there's Rockville. I'm trying to think of the one. There's a lady who always tweets me from this town.
Yeah.
But I can't think of it off the top of my head. Northern portions of Montgomery County. Some heavy rain starting to come down. And again, through Prince George's, and it looks like it's starting to expand into Anne Arundel. This is just wave 1.
Okay.
We have plenty more waves to go. It's going to be a long night of rainfall here in the DMV.
So a long night into a long weekend of rain.
Ish.
Mostly tonight.
Mostly tonight. It gets a little better, but still kind of tomorrow.
Yep.
And then Sunday's nice.
We got some people asking about Maryland forecast for tomorrow. Probably similar.
It's the same. Similar for whoever's asking about Maryland forecast. Similar, but lighter than today, more misty. You could have a little bit of moderate rain from time to time, but it won't be as we're not as concerned with flash flooding tomorrow as we are tonight.
And where was that video that your viewer sent you again?
That was Wheaton Glenmont, so that was Montgomery County, just south of the Gaithersburg, southern Montgomery County.
Okay, some people asking about Frederick, Germantown,
etc. Let's see, Germantown looks like they're getting a little bit of rain right now. And I believe they're included because they're Montgomery County, so I believe they're included in the flash flood warning there. Frederick's got a storm just off to their west, so for those of you in Frederick, Maryland, just off to your west, there's a storm. It's much like the rest of these storms. It's not moving too much. We'll see if it doesn't expand eastward. But again, as we head through the course, I'd say between the noon and 4 o'clock hour, we're really going to start to see storms popping up more and more and more. And then evening rush and beyond, more widespread coverage.
Wow. Okay, so some people heading to the beach this weekend at 5 a.m. I was reading. Hi, Mariel.
Oh, man.
Nice to see you, Caesar. Thanks for watching, guys. What about that? Ocean City?
Same kind of deal, unfortunately, for Ocean City. And tomorrow's not the best beach day, but you'll have a decent day on Sunday.
All right.
So, again, next 48 hours aren't great.
Oh, bummer.
Sorry.
Right.
Sorry, beachgoers.
And Nats game, that's such a sad...
Yeah.
Those Friday night games. All right. Well, Mike Thomas, thanks so much for joining us, guys. You can stay with us on our Fox 5 Live stream on YouTube if you jump over to YouTube. That's going to do it for our Facebook little alert here with Mike.
Yeah.
You're off to home now.
Well, not yet. I got to wait for Gary to get in. But
Gary might join. Maybe we'll drag Gary in here for some updates. So
right. Absolutely. You drag him in all day long.
All right. Yeah. We'll do. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Stay safe. Again, don't cross any flooded roadways, please.
Yes. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. All right, what's up, YouTube? We're back in the digital studio. I'm Molly with intern Amber today.
Hello.
Super excited to be with you on this Friday, guys. It's already July 28th. Thanks so much for joining us on our live stream here on YouTube. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you. It's Friday. We're excited too. Hey, Caesar. All right, guys, stay on our stream. We're going to be bringing you live stuff from everywhere today. A mishmash of kind of stuff today. We got some stuff coming in from NASA. There's going to be an I.S.S. expedition. They're sending 3 people, a European, a Russian, and a NASA American up for a 5-month mission. That's going to be a live launch at 11:41 Eastern time. So I want to see if we can bring that to you guys. Also, we got a lot of stuff going on the Hill right now. Of course, with healthcare last night, guys, you've probably heard late into the evening last night, John McCain voting no on the skinny repeal of Obamacare, of the healthcare bill. President Trump tweeting his displeasure with Republicans not repealing and replacing this healthcare bill. So big politics stuff that happened overnight. So naturally, there's a lot of reaction on Capitol Hill today, including a couple things we're getting in right now. Some reaction from House Democrats, and I see Chuck Schumer there as well. Let's jump in and around Capitol Hill for some live reaction to healthcare. Then we'll come back into the studio and bring you other breaking news sources. As always, guys, we're going to bring you breaking news first. So if anything does happen and we get a source from anywhere that is pressing, we'll bring that to you guys live. So again, thanks for joining us. Stay on our stream this afternoon for more live news. Let's go over to Chuck Schumer on Capitol Hill.
Which way Senator McCain was going to go. When did you know he was going to vote no?
Well, I'm not going to get, I can tell you, John and I talked 4 or 5 times each day since he came back. And I had a lot of discussions with him, but I'm going to leave it at that.
And do you think that his strained
He's one of my closest friends in the Senate.
Right, and you've worked together on a lot of different issues. Do you think that his strained relationship with the president had anything to do with his decision to vote?
John McCain is blessed with an internal gyroscope of right and wrong. And I think that more than any, he gets angry for sure. But when the push comes to shove and there are brass tacks, that internal gyroscope of right and wrong guides him. Yes.
The president's tweet about letting it implode, though, did end with "then deal." Doesn't that hold out the possibility that the president might be open to working with Democrats? You try to read between the characters.
Let us pray. I mean, we haven't seen it, and I've told the president we want to work with him on issues like infrastructure, but his idea of bipartisanship is he comes up with the bill, we have no input, and then we should support it. That's just not how the world works. Yes.
Senator Schumer, you said that the president's tweet about letting Obamacare implode was small. Are you trying to call his bluff? And what if he is dead serious about that and Republicans after last night refuse to work with Democrats on even fixing Obamacare?
It'll
Yeah.
I didn't shut it off. It'll hurt the American people and it'll hurt him. 65% say it's of the American people, including a large number of Republicans and Trump supporters, say it's on his watch. His job as president is to make people's lives better, not wage a political war and hurt people to make a point. And it'll fail. It'll fail. And his Republican colleagues know that.
Do you buy when he says
Yes.
You talked about the bipartisanship, but in his closing comments, President McConnell didn't seem to really indicate that he was actually interested in doing the marketplace reforms that he quoted in the past. How did you read those comments, and can you point to like one specific policy that you think you can do with Republicans?
Well, I think there are a bunch, but I think the things I mentioned at the beginning have had bipartisan support. Even Leader McConnell had said a few weeks ago, if this fails, we'll work with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. And the first thing we'd want to do is try, whether in the budget negotiations or elsewhere, is make the cost sharing permanent. The insurance industry, hardly our allies, have said the number one way to stabilize the system and keep premiums down is make cost sharing permanent. And I believe that would have bipartisan support. I think there are a lot of things that would have bipartisan support. I even talked to Paul Ryan this morning about working together on these kinds of things, and there's a thirst to do it. And I just hope, as I said, the magic moment of John McCain last night has lasting effect and makes us work together in a better way, and both sides are to blame for the past. Yes.
Senator, Democrats have made opposing President Trump a big part of what you're about right now. Are you ready to say to Democratic voters, stand back, we're going to work with Republicans and get something signed by this president?
My first conversation with President Trump the week after he won is, let's work together. And I told him, to no avail, that infrastructure was probably the best place to start out. So we've always wanted to work with him. We sent him our infrastructure plan. We've talked to him about other issues. He hasn't seemed to want to work with us. As soon as he does, we're ready.
You mentioned a lot of Democrat line items passed. What are you willing to give that a Republican might have? Medical device tax, Cadillac tax?
Look, I'm not going to get into negotiations here the day after, but there has to be a give and take. And I think my colleagues in my caucus know that. And I just want to say that. I left that out. Not only praise for McCain and Collins and Murkowski, but my caucus, our caucus, was so united. You had Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin and everyone in between on the same page. And we're a family. We watch each other's backs. Almost every major decision we made was not made by me unilaterally, but by calling our caucus together. And most of the good ideas came from various members just raising their hands and saying, what about this, what about that? We had 2 caucuses yesterday to discuss what to do. So we're going to work with them. And our caucus unity was something fabulous. Yeah,
Mr. Reader, does President Trump understand healthcare policy?
Well, I was amazed that he said, let's go down to 51 votes to help get it passed when they were there. And I haven't talked to him at length on healthcare policy, but my Republican colleagues who do say he doesn't understand it very well.
Do you think that that will hurt whatever bipartisan
No.
effort you try to do?
You know, the 2 major things, look, I hope President Trump, seeing that he's been unable to get much done his way, does it a different way, a bipartisan way. Works from the middle, not just from, you know, the hard right. But I think whether he does or not, my Republican colleagues want to do it. The 2 major legislative successes we've had this year, the budget appropriations process and Russia sanctions, were bipartisan. They passed the Senate with large majorities, people from both sides voting. We can have many more successes if we do that. Yes.
A 2-part question. You came on the floor. The way I looked at it, when some of your colleagues started applauding, you sort of gestured to them maybe to stop applauding.
Yeah.
Can you characterize that?
Yeah, I don't think it was a time for celebration or political victory. I said it last night on the floor. It's not a time for celebration. It was a time of relief. Those of us who walked our states and heard people's anguish. You know, I'll never forget a mother with a 3-year-old daughter who had Medicaid because the daughter was disabled. And without Medicaid, she said, my daughter will die. And there she was, this strong woman with her little child. And every one of us saw instances like that over and over and over again. That's what motivated us. That's what motivated us. And I didn't think it was a time for political victory because we got to work together to make things better. I thought it was a time of, you know, grateful appreciation for the courage of Collins, Murkowski, McCain, the unity of our caucus. But let's think of the future, not of a political victory.
Are there some parts of Obamacare that just aren't sustainable?
Well, look, no one said it's perfect. Again, I'm not going to get into all the details here. No one said it perfect, and we want to make it better, plain and simple. And we're ready to work in a bipartisan way to do that. Taylor.
How are you going to avoid a train wreck in September when you turn to these things that have sort of been delayed on the debt limit or keeping government open?
I hope that 2017 budget and appropriations process is a model for 2018. We put together a proposal. Leader McConnell, Speaker Ryan, Leader Pelosi, and myself, along with our ranking members and chairs of appropriations, did a darn good thing without much fuss. No muss, no fuss. I hope the same thing will happen when we deal with the issues of budget and appropriations and funding the government next time. And how debt ceiling plays into that, we'll wait and see.
Do you think we'll get started on that next week?
I don't know. That's Leader McConnell. I don't know what he proposes to do next week. I had hoped, in honor of John McCain, we could do NDAA. I thought we could have probably worked out the Rand Paul issue on the floor there. McCain and Reid and I were talking to him, but it'll be up to Leader McConnell.
What's your role for Democrats to play in tax reform, especially since it's going to happen under reconciliation?
Well, if it happens under reconciliation, they're putting the same sign out on the door, no Democrats wanted, as they did with health care, and it'll, I think, lead to the same result. Okay, last one.
Tell us about your conversation with Speaker Ryan today, and does that open the door to dialoguing and compromise?
I've always gotten along with Speaker Ryan. In fact, you may remember that he and I worked on a proposal to repatriate some money and put it into infrastructure. And so, look, again, I think the 4 leaders left to their own devices, along with their caucuses, could get a lot done. But there are outside forces that pull things apart. The president has not been helpful in bringing people together. Again, I hope last night was a magic moment that changes all that. Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys, so there we go. We heard from Chuck Schumer saying John McCain has an internal gyroscope of what's right and wrong. Pretty interesting stuff. Obviously, reaction coming out from yesterday's healthcare repeal fail. But, guys, I see that you have some comments on the feed. Thanks for commenting and asking questions. What's now the effect? We're hearing that things are sort of now shelved for the time being. Mitch McConnell wants to move on to other things, and then we go from there. So not a lot of clear answers. But I want to give you, or at least alert your attention to what you're seeing now in the right corner of your screen. Check it out. That's up in Long Island, New York. This is a protest, a President Trump protest. That's what we're hearing coming in live because President Trump is slated to speak actually later this afternoon. He's going to be making some remarks on MS-13, gang violence that is particularly bad in that area in Long Island, also particularly bad in our area in Virginia. It's been very high. We've heard a lot of talk about that, and law enforcement talk about how they're working to combat it here from local law enforcement. But yeah, up here in Brentwood, New York, he's at Suffolk County Community College, and this is what we're being told is an active protest there outside, I think, of this college. Let's take this full screen and check into it.
About time. That's right. About time to get some American flag on that side. Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah, Maxine Waters. I call her Mad Max. The James Brown corner. That's who I call that dirtbag liar. 1984 liar mouth. Go over there to your freaking dirtbag. Follow. Your ideas are dead. Your ideology is dead. It's done.
We want to remind you guys, everything that we bring you here is live, raw, and unedited, unless otherwise told so. So this looks like there's a protest, but there might also be a counter-protest here.
Yeah.
I see a red hat, although I'm not quite sure what
I think
that is.
I think that's the guy that had the MAGA.
Is it possibly the Make America Great Again hat?
Yeah.
So I'll have to see him turn around. But protests and other counter-protests as well. Law enforcement obviously on site there. Lots of news crews outside, I believe, what is this, County Community College in Brentwood, New York, in advance of President Trump's speaking there later this afternoon. Let us know what you guys think if you're watching, where you're watching from, and if you have any questions or comments along the stream, please feel free to add them in. We're going to be watching along with you guys here at the Digital News Desk. I can't quite see that guy's hat, is it?
I think it is. Or, well, I can't. He's holding an American flag. That's all I know.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see. But listen in, guys. Let us know what you think. We'll be here watching and bringing you all the rest as well. A reminder that NASA stuff is coming up. I want to bring you that launch, so we're going to try to do 2 screens and bring you both of those in a minute.
What a great country. It's the best, baby. Now look what they did. Move that car. Get out of here. They're being forced in here. They're blocking traffic. Protest against our president. Move it. It was sentence from below. God forbid we stop there.
All right, guys, a live look now at Air Force One. There's President Trump. He'll be departing for this area that you see right below us here on the left side, this protest that camera's getting ready in the right side there of your screen for Air Force One departing up there for President Trump to make his remarks. We'll be bringing those to you live. They should be in the 1 o'clock hour today, Eastern Time. So kind of two screens here, the protest and then President Trump taking off. And we're going to check in with NASA in a little bit as well. Hopefully we don't miss that launch. That should be coming up shortly.
You know what?
And we are 1 minute and counting.
Vehicle to internal power.
So the vehicle now on internal power, and you can see that first umbilical breaking away. And then when we see the second umbilical depart, you'll know it's 15 seconds away from the liftoff. Again, not tracking any issues with the vehicle, everything pointing to go, where it should be about 20 seconds away from launch.
Vehicle to internal power.
Auto sequence initiated. Vehicle now on internal power. The launch command has been issued. You can see the rocket engines firing.
Second umbilical tower.
Power is going to start ramping up.
Engine turbopumps at flight speed. Engines at maximum.
Turbo pumps at flight speed and liftoff. Sergei Rosansky, Randy Bresnik, and Paolo Nespoli rocketing away from Baikonur and on their way to the International Space Station.
And liftoff.
You can see the very bright first stage engines cutting across the night sky there on Baikonur.
25. 20 seconds into flight. All systems are
getting reports, everything running nominally or normally for the first stage, so getting good first stage performance so far. Soyuz delivering about 930,000 pounds of thrust with those 4 boosters and the single core engine.
Is nominal.
They're going to be burning liquid fuel for the first 2 minutes and 6 seconds of the flight. Already past 1 minute since liftoff. Velocity already approaching 1,100 miles per hour for the Soyuz spacecraft.
Your pitch are nominal. Copy. 70 seconds into flight. Everything's nominal on board.
And continuing to get good reports from the controllers in Baikonur. Everything looking good with the rocket so far as the first stage continues onwards.
Into flight. Everything's nominal on board. 90 seconds into flight. Stage 1 and 2 thrusters are working nominally.
So
Roll pitch and yaw nominal.
And we have confirmation that the escape tower has been jettisoned, and there you can see the 4 strap-on boosters flying away, making something known as the Koryoff Cross. The 4 strap-on boosters now detached. The first stage has done its job. And then the core stage of the second stage continuing to burn now. At this point, the rocket already 48 miles in altitude, traveling, or rather 28 miles in altitude. The Soyuz traveling at over 3,300 miles per hour.
150 seconds and into flight. Second stage thrusters are working nominally.
And everything continuing to look good with the second stage. Getting confirmation from the visiting vehicle officer that the launch shroud, so that protective shroud around the Soyuz spacecraft, has been jettisoned. So Soyuz now exposed during the additional climb to orbit.
Seconds. All parameters are nominal.
At this point, a little over 3 minutes since launch, the Soyuz rocket traveling at a speed of over 4,700 miles per hour. For those just tuning in, we had a successful launch. Those lights you see coming back down are the strap-on boosters and the escape tower that detached from the rocket following a successful flight. Second stage, the core stage, continuing to perform as expected. That core stage, 56 feet in length, 13.5 feet in diameter. And it has a single engine with 4 different fuel chambers, and it provides between 178,000 and 222,000 pounds of thrust, depending on the altitude. And it's going to continue firing for about 3 minutes and 28 seconds of operation. It burns until the 4-minute, 43-second mark. And then the Soyuz will use, again, what's known as a hot stage technique. So the third stage will actually ignite while the second is still burning.
Thrusters are working nominally.
View inside the cabin, you can see things going very well for the rocket. The crew, Paolo Nespoli here in the center of the screen, Sergei Rosansky in the bottom right corner of your screen. And then getting some animations now from Roscosmos, the Russian Federal Space Agency. Again, at this point, the vehicle is still being controlled by the blockhouse, the control center in Baikonur. And then following separation from the third stage, control of the Soyuz spacecraft will get handed over to the Russian Mission Control just outside of Moscow. And we should be coming up on the third stage. And we've heard confirmation that the second stage has separated. So that core stage separating at an altitude of about 105 statute miles. The third stage now continuing the Soyuz climb into orbit. Getting away from Paolo Nespoli, he's in the right seat. And then Randy Breznik there at the top of your screen. Sergei Rosansky in the middle.
10 seconds into flight. Stability.
Everything continuing to look good with the Soyuz rocket. Being propelled by that single engine of the third stage provides about 67,000 pounds of thrust and is going to burn for 4 minutes and 2 seconds. So this is the final part of the climb into orbit. The first and second stages doing their job and dropping away.
Thrusters are working.
The third stage now going to continue. Again, this will burn until about 8 minutes, 45 seconds following the liftoff. And right now we're at 5 minutes and 50 seconds, so just a couple of more minutes to go.
350.
And then we'll see the Soyuz spacecraft separate from the third stage, and it will be in orbit and on its way to the International Space Station.
Roll, pitch, and yaw are all nominal. .380 seconds into flight. Third stage thrusters are working nominally.
Six minutes, 40 seconds since liftoff, so about 2 minutes of burning for this third stage engine. Again, just the single core stage at this point. The vehicle
and everything's fine on board.
is Again, just about 2 minutes left. By the time the third stage cuts off, it'll be in an altitude of 125 statute miles over the Earth, and it'll deliver the Soyuz into orbit, and then it'll be able to deploy the solar arrays and all the various antennas it'll need for the flight up to the International Space Station. But so far, everything going very well so far today. The team's not tracking any issues with the vehicle. First and second stage performing flawlessly, actually giving us some pretty great views in the night sky over Kazakhstan as the first and second stages dropped away. Seven and a half minutes into the flight. At this point, the Soyuz rocket actually traveling at almost 13,500 miles per hour, ultimately going to climb up to about 17,500 miles an hour, the speed the space station's traveling at, and then it'll begin its chase down of the vehicle.
470 seconds into flight. Third stage thrusters are working nominally.
And so we're at about 8 minutes into the flight, so just a little over 40 seconds now remaining of powered flight for the Soyuz rocket. We'll keep an eye in the cabin here as you will see the astronauts get a bit of a jolt when that third stage cuts off and drops away. But once that's complete, they'll be in their preliminary orbit, be able to start chasing down the International Space Station.
500 seconds into flight. Five 110 seconds into flight. Roll, pitch, and yaw are all nominal. Parameters are nominal as well.
And there you see the crew members getting a bit of a jolt, that signifying the third stage has cut off. Getting the confirmation here that it has indeed separated.
And I am handing you over.
And so there we have it. Sergei Rosansky, Randy Briznik, and Paolo Nespoli in orbit. Their Soyuz spacecraft now about 125 miles over planet Earth.
Guys, we read you loud.
Third stage performs an avoidance maneuver and then drops away.
All right, work for page 35.
And getting confirmation from the visiting vehicle officer, all of the antennas and the solar arrays have been deployed, so that's always a good sign. The Soyuz now going to orbit at this altitude that's going to be raised over the next 6 hours by a series of different burns to place it in close proximity to the International Space Station. But a flawless launch, a flawless opening of all of those antennas and arrays. The crew now in orbit control of the spacecraft from here on out will be overseen from the Russian Mission Control Center just outside of Moscow. But a very happy Rosansky, Bresnik, and Nespoli obviously in space and on their way towards the International Space Station.
And you will be sending the RDR command via KRL command data link in 10 seconds. Dynamic mode enabled. Copy. Dynamic mode enabled.
So once again, you guys, welcome to the show. This is Fox 5 Live. We're tracking this live launch. NASA launching this Expedition 5253 up to the International Space Station. Some of you guys are on checking this out. Pretty cool to see a live launch from NASA. On board are 3 people, a European, a Russian, and someone from NASA. And we saw them earlier. Now they're in orbit. Things are looking good, and this is pretty cool. So things are looking good here. I think we'll kind of stay with this for a tad bit longer to see what becomes of it. And then we'll take you back over to that protest in New York where President Trump is headed today. In fact, he's about to take off from Joint Base Andrews. We have a camera there as well, and we'll bring you over to those two in a little bit. Like I said, a live protest going on in Long Island where President Trump is slated to speak today in the 1 o'clock hour. He's talking about MS-13 gang-related violence, a hot topic and a big deal up in that area. and there's some protests going on there. So we'll bring you over there in a little bit. For now, check out this cool footage. You're watching Fox 5 Live here from Washington, D.C., Fox 5 Local News.
We are done with the test of the first set of the first string. And
So again, right now, Sergei Rosansky, Paolo Nespoli, and Randy Bresnik, the NASA astronaut and retired Marine colonel, now in outer space in their Soyuz spacecraft safely. Flawless launch today, and the spacecraft performing as expected. All of the antennas and the solar arrays deployed successfully, and they're now going to get ready to begin chasing down the International Space Station. They're going to perform a series of what's known as delta velocity burns, 4 of them over the next several hours, which will incrementally raise their orbit until they're up at about 250 statute miles along with the space station. After about 6 hours of flight, that'll place them very close to the station and then set them up for their docking to the Rosviet module.
17, 115, 13.6, 19, 244, 1, 3, 21, 1.2, 20 seconds, 3, 2, 9er, 23rd minute, 3, 3, 1, 24, 17.3, 25, 17.3, parameter 2.
All right, guys, we'll take it out of there for now and bring you back to the digital newsroom. Just want to welcome you to the show. Thanks for coming on the stream. I'm here with intern Amber inside the digital newsroom, bringing you cool videos and live sources. That's our main thing, live and breaking news for you guys to check out. And right now, we got some stuff going on. I was telling you earlier, this is still going on. This protest in New York. There you go, double screen there. Lower right is Joint Base Andrews, where President Trump is taking off for that location in your upper left, where there's some protests going on, so we can listen in to some of those. We got a camera there. Obviously, just lost the shot. Obviously, some counter protests as well, but there's Joint Base Andrews where Air Force One, we just saw it for a second. Not quite sure if everything is rocking and rolling yet, but President Trump will be taking off and speaking later on at like 1:30 or 1:40 or so in the afternoon in Brentwood, New York. In other news, guys, has everybody seen this? Okay, I got to bring your attention to this viral video that went crazy. Check it out. Oh my God, there's sound on this too. Okay, so a shark got caught on this boat in Southampton, New York. It's a good-sized video too. It's about 1 minute. Check it out. Obviously, people out there snapping with their phones. I would be too.
I wouldn't be out. That's all I could think of to do. I'm not gonna get any. The only reason I would be even remotely close to that shark is to help kick him into the ocean.
It is crazy, and obviously you can see sort of the hook and line there, guys. They caught this shark. It was caught. It got stuck on the edge of this boat and eventually works his way to get off. But it is crazy. I would be riveted to this.
I would just go inside just screaming, nope, nope, nope.
Look at that blood. You can tell it obviously it got hooked and is damaged.
Definitely caught it by accident. I doubt they were planning on catching that.
Wild. And that is a good
But they did catch it with the video.
Size. Yes. A bunch of people had their phones out here to catch this because this is now a viral video. Going viral, very cool stuff. I think it's so cool to see a shark up close and personal, and on during Shark Week, no less.
There.
And then he gets himself free a little bit.
Oh God! Oh God!
I know. He eventually makes his way. But pretty cool, pretty relevant Shark Week this week.
There he goes.
And then he gets free. But that is the 1 minute video that has been making the rounds. Let me know if you guys had seen that. Otherwise, I thought that was pretty cool. And not something you see every day, right?
No, not at all.
So interesting. All right, guys. So we're still over at Joint Base Andrews. That's our live stream right now. Waiting for President Trump to take off for New York. But let's check in. Last night, of course, big stuff with healthcare. Nancy Pelosi and some other House Democrats had some words on that just moments ago. I'm going to bring you that video here.
For himself, his 3 sisters.
The rule is for the grandkids. This kitchen.
It rather than to repeal it. With that, I'm very pleased to yield to the distinguished Democratic whip, Mr. Hoyer.
Thank you very much. Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski and Senator McCain voted what their 49 Republican colleagues were thinking. It was not a bill that would have been positive for the American people, and it was defeated. Now it is our joint responsibility, the President, the House, and the Senate, to work together in a bipartisan way to ensure that Americans are not damaged by the inability to pass a replacement. The Affordable Care Act is the law of the land, and each of us have a responsibility to make sure that it is implemented in a way that is positive for Americans and American families. I am now pleased to yield to the distinguished Assistant Leader, Jim Clyburn of South Carolina.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whip and Madam Leader and other distinguished colleagues. One of the things I used to teach when I first started my professional career was the governmental process. We as legislators make the laws, and it's turned over to the executive to enforce. Last night, we got another step in the making of the law. Now it's up to the executive branch of government to enforce that law and not do anything to subvert the legislative process and the intentions that that process yield. And I'm looking forward to all of us working together to return to what we call regular order here and see what we can do to improve the Affordable Care Act going forward. And with that, I'm pleased to yield to Ranking Member Frank Pallone of New Jersey.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. I just want to stress that I think it's time for the Republicans to put partisanship aside, stop these efforts to repeal. The president needs to stop the sabotage and basically work with us to come together and find ways to lower costs, to bring stability to the marketplace, and also expand access. And we said last week what some of those key things would be. And the one that our leader already mentioned is with regard to the cost-sharing subsidies. The president must commit now to continue to pay the cost-sharing subsidies indefinitely rather than this month-to-month maybe, which is creating so much instability in the marketplace. And then also work with us also on the reinsurance idea. We had a temporary reinsurance program that brought a lot of stability to the marketplace because it was making it possible for insurers that they didn't have to worry about if a lot of people became sick and all of a sudden they had to pay out a lot of money. So those are some of the things that we can do, some of the most important things that we need to do to work together to improve on the Affordable Care Act on a bipartisan basis. And I call on my Republican colleagues, and we'll certainly try to do that with our Energy and Commerce colleagues as well. And now I'd like to yield to the ranking member of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Neal.
Thanks, Frank. I think we all agree this is not a moment for triumphalism. Instead, this is an argument, I think, to return to the regular order. The actual notion of holding hearings, offering amendments, and maybe someday even getting to conference reports the way the Congress once functioned when many of us joined. But also the reminder as we proceed now to tax reform, we need to employ a different model. This can't be done with one party. And instead, I think that we also move on to critical issues that face the American economy, including the debt ceiling. We have to finish the appropriations process. We have Medicare extenders coming up, and we also have the CHIP program coming up. And I think that there's enough goodwill from members on both sides to find a path forward and to use this as a learning experience as to how one party, playing off of 8 pages, after 70 years since Harry Truman talked about the need for national health insurance, to understand that it can't be done without hearings and amendments and an open process that embraces a lot of different ideas, as we did in the run-up to the Affordable Care Act. Use this as a learning period, use this as a lesson, and let's move on. And with that, I'd like to introduce our pal and friend, Bobby Scott, ranking member. Bobby, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Leaders and other colleagues. When we talk about the Affordable Care Act, we have to remind ourselves what the situation was before the Affordable Care Act passed. Costs were going through the roof. Those with pre-existing conditions couldn't get insurance. Millions of people were losing their insurance every year, and after the Affordable Care Act passed, costs have gone up at the lowest rate in about 50 years. Those with pre-existing conditions can get insurance. More than 20 million more people have insurance than they did before. We have consumer protections like no caps on benefits, prevention, closing the donut hole. Children up to 26 can stay in the parents' policies. We made a lot of progress, but obviously it is not perfect. And whatever you think of the Affordable Care Act, if you're going to make changes, you ought to improve it. And that improvement will be measured on the cost of premiums, on the number of people insured, and the quality of the insurance. Last night's vote was on a measure where 16 million fewer people would have their insurance, and the cost would go up at least 20%. Some that voted against it some that voted for it only voted for it with an understanding that it would not be the final version that would go into conference. The problem wasn't with the process. The problem was with the reality that every other proposal was actually worse, had more people uninsured, at higher costs, and the quality of insurance went down. And so we shouldn't be talking about process. We shouldn't be talking about the political ramifications of what happened last night. We ought to be talking about coming together, as our leadership has said, have hearings and briefings. There are a lot of ideas out there. Some will work and some will not. That's why you have hearings and briefings. Let's come together and improve the Affordable Care Act. And with that, I want to call on the ranking member of the Budget Committee, Mr. Yarmul.
Thank you, Bobby. Last week we discussed, as many have said, the ideas that we have for making the Affordable Care Act work better. One of the areas that we are concerned about and know we need to deal with is many jurisdictions in which there are few insurance companies or none. There are not many with none, but there are some with fewer. We have ideas for how to do that. Frank's mentioned some of those. We've talked with insurance companies, and we know what they say they need to re-enter these markets and to be competitive in these markets. But also, I think, as part of this process that many have mentioned here already today, we need to engage these states. It seems like the Affordable Care Act in the individual market has been successful in many places and not so successful in others. In those it hasn't been as successful, these are where the administrations of those states, largely Republican, have not embraced the Affordable Care Act and not tried to make it work. So I think we need to put a little bit of responsibility on those states, engage with them, see how the federal government can be helpful in those states, but also how they can help as well, help their own citizens. So we look forward to this kind of dialogue and analysis and discussion and making the Affordable Care Act work as successfully as we know it can. With that, I'll return the program to the leader.
Thank you. We're very pleased to be joined by our distinguished chair of the House Democratic Caucus, Joe Crowley of New York, two of our co-chairs of our Communications Committee, Congresswoman Sherry Bustos of Illinois, Congressman David Cicilline of Rhode Island, and they are prepared to take any questions you may have. Maybe we have time for two because we have a vote ticking away now. Yes, sir. Well, I have reached out to him. They were in caucus this morning, and I believe we'll speak as soon as we leave here, finish the vote, because they obviously we are all up late last night, but I called them this morning. They were in caucus. But that opportunity has to be for us to work under the regular order as we go forward. Yeah.
Is it incumbent on Democrats then now to reach out to Republicans that after this vote has failed and say, okay, we said we would talk to you when repeal is off the table. If repeal appears to be dead, here's our ideas. Here's where we're ready to compromise and work together.
We've always stood ready to work with our Republican colleagues to help advance the cause of the American people. That is to provide health care to as many people as we possibly can. We have not been asked to the table, either in the House or in the Senate, We're in the minority. We recognize that, but we've stood ready with ideas and thoughts about how we can mend or improve the Affordable Care Act. So it's really incumbent upon them to join us and bring us to the table as well.
Thank you. We got to go. We have a vote.
But maybe we just have the two other members say just something to that
Just
question.
to follow up on Chairman Crowley's point, you heard this morning, and there have been additional proposals put forth by members of the Democratic caucus. There are lots of good ideas on ways that we can improve the Affordable Care Act. There was a press conference just last week outlining some of those ideas. There's no absence of ideas. What we have had so far is an absence of a willingness to work with Democrats in a bipartisan way to make those improvements because they've been so singularly focused on repeal. Hopefully the vote last night will end that quest, and there will be a meaningful interest in actually working with us to explore some of these great ideas to make the Affordable Care Act even better.
I'll be very quick. What do we have, 7 seconds before we? Okay. You know, I find it interesting that the Republicans hold the White House, the Senate, and the House, and yet they are finger pointing to us. And here's the reality of it. As Congressman Crowley just said, we stand here with open arms, and we do have proposals. I heard Mitch McConnell talking today about where are the Democrats' ideas. You know, they've been talking about repealing and replacing this, or repealing it at least, for the last 8 years. And I can tell you this, I'm from Illinois. I'm from a rural district that Donald Trump won. And people are tired of this appearing to be a game. They want us to get the job done. We're saying to Mitch McConnell, to Speaker Ryan, to any Republicans that we stand here ready to fight for bringing down the cost of prescription drugs, making health care more affordable from a premium perspective, co-pays and deductibles. So, you know, yeah, we stand here ready, but let's get the job done. All right, thanks.
Thank you all. We'll see you shortly. We'll be back.
All right, so some reaction, of course, from lawmakers on the Hill there. Nancy Pelosi joined by other House Democrats on last night's news. I'm trying to find you guys some of the video from last night to see it in case you missed it, that vote. I know it was kind of late last night, and I didn't even actually get to see it.
Do you know what time it was?
Everything kind of wrapped up at like 2 a.m. I was reading.
2 a.m.?
People stormed the Capitol. There were lots of protests. I was reading, or not protests, but celebrations. And I was reading that there were a lot of people out and about. But I missed all that, and I had to kind of recap on it this morning.
I did not know. I didn't even know some people were out. Things would occur that way politically.
That late, yeah. Sometimes you just never know certain things. So, guys, if you're watching, we're kind of talking about yesterday's news, today's news, bringing you all the live sources of what's coming in today on our Fox 5 Live digital show. So we're going to bring you over to New York again, Brentwood, New York. It's where President Trump is speaking in less than an hour, or about an hour. And we're going to bring you to that protest, as well as a shot of Joint Base Andrews. His plane should be taken off, Air Force One should be taken off for that area very shortly. We'll let you listen into the protest while we find more to bring you guys on today's show.
Fail at removing transgender people from the military. That's why Trump says we win, love always wins. We stand united.
As we heard, it's also an attack against Muslims and South Asians, which is a large community and growing community here on Long Island. So next we're going to have Maria Saki from the MDQ Muslim community here.
Fellow Americans are not Muslims, but I have to emphasize, we are Americans. Well, we are
Thank you. Next, we're going to have Blanca Villanueva, who is also a young person and a leader from this community and has been fighting for education and quality education for our young people. So, give her a round of applause.
So my name is Blanca Villanueva, and I'm with the Alliance for Quality Education and the Long Island Progressive Coalition. We're a organization working with parents in the community to fight to ensure that all students have access to a high-quality public school education. So beyond being an advocate, I'm here as a resident. I grew up in Brentwood. I was born and raised here. I went to the Brentwood Public School District. I met my husband here in Brentwood. I got married here. My family is still here in Brentwood. Someone today actually told me, I'm glad Trump is coming to Brentwood because my country is really becoming a problem. Well, I'm here to say that that's not why Trump is coming. He is here to use our triune for political gain, to fuel his hateful agenda. He's here to say immigrants are criminals and they should be deported. His strategy is to dehumanize our community and break up our families, even those without criminal records. Let's not be confused with why he's here. He's here to kill our community, what makes our community great. The culture, the different backgrounds that we have, and we're love for one another. You want to talk about the problem? Let's talk about the privatization of our prisons. The criminalization of our black and brown youth. Let's talk about the secure underfunding of our public schools. Let's talk about how the American dream is only achievable for some. Let's talk about the billions of dollars he's trying to steal from our already struggling public schools that will eliminate after-school programs. You want to talk about the solutions? How about we invest in our communities? How about we invest in the youth? How about we add after-school programs, social workers for youth who are facing trauma? How about we make sure parents who work teaching jobs full-time have a living wage? Let's invest in our communities. Let's invest in our youth. And if we're going to come to talk about solutions, why don't we talk to one of us? Talk to me who grew up here. Talk to my mother and 4 children here in Brentwood who have been living here for over 30 years. Talk to my sister who's passed here. Let's talk to our community because any one of us don't come here to Brentwood as if you have a solution for anything. So, money for jobs and education, not for mass deportation. Money for jobs and education, not for police solution. Can you say that? Money for jobs and education, not for mass deportation. Money for jobs and education, not for police extermination. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Blanca. Next, we are standing across the street from the Suffolk County Community College. The key word there is community. That is our space. This is our community. So we are going to hear next from Kevin Patterman, who's the president of the Faculty Association at the Suffolk Community College.
This is Lisa. This is Mary. How are you, my darling? I'm doing great.
All right, guys, a live look at Joint Base Andrews. That's what you just saw. It looks like we lost the feed for the protest in New York. We'll be trying to bring you that speech there, President Trump speaking in New York, live when we get that in. For now, take a look. It's raining, guys, in the Capitol. There it is. You can see it. Finally, the camera captures it. And check out the White House as well. There's the rain. Pretty. You can actually see it on camera. Sometimes it's hard to catch rain, but like Mike Thomas said earlier in that little weather
you can definitely see in the trees because like the lighting shows the movement. You could definitely see
Yep.
it in the trees, but like
Yeah.
on the White House, you can't really see it.
This
In the
one's
clouds,
more
you
so.
can't see.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There you go, a live look at what it looks like in DC right now. I will tell you, I'm not prepared. I did not bring rain stuff, although I'm running right to the airport
God.
after this. So hopefully I can just get in a car and go.
My family and I, we were well prepared. We checked our phones. We got our umbrellas. I have mine with me.
It.
So
man, I feel like I've lived in the city so long and I'm still never prepared for these. But luckily this one was sort of known about, and Mike Thomas brought us that report earlier. We got the rain warning with the watches, and now it's raining through the evening. So be prepared for that if you're in the DMV area, guys. With that, we're going to be watching for President Trump's departure. Hopefully that does happen on time and in a safe manner there in the rain at Joint Base Andrews. And then we'll be bringing you his speech as well. And any other live and breaking news sources, guys, we'll bring them to you live also. We're going to take a look around and leave you with this beautiful shot of the Capitol. We'll be right back with you with more video. Hey guys, if you're just coming on with us, you're looking at live picture at Joint Base Andrews. And President Trump, we just saw him get on the plane with his umbrella. He was alone, walking up. He's going off to New York. He'll be in Brentwood, New York on Long Island to deliver a speech to local law enforcement about MS-13 gang violence, which is prevalent in that area. We just saw him go up there. Usually we get these feeds in whenever the president departs for something, some big event. But meanwhile, guys, check it out. It's still rainy and really, really hazy and cloudy and rainy in D.C. You can barely even see the Capitol Dome.
Yeah. Oh my.
You can barely see it. It's a pretty shot.
That's kind of creepy if you think about it. Like for like a Halloween change the color. It's just like. Ooh.
It is kind of creepy. It's the little haunted Capitol Dome in our city here in D.C. A live look quickly at the White House too, guys. Check it out. You can really see the rain there.
Yeah, it
barely
really
see that. The White House is blending in, but we'll go back to the split shot screen here as Air Force One takes off, guys, for New York. That's what we have live. We're going to try to effort to some of the video from last night in case you missed it in the late hours when the healthcare repeal bill votes came down. Pretty interesting video. We're going to try to find that for you just to replay, and then we'll try to bring you President Trump as well when he is live in on Long Island today. So that's all happening today, guys, on this Friday. Super happy to be with you here. If you're new to the stream, welcome. Hang out with us for the afternoon. You can comment if you have any questions or thoughts on the stream. You can live chat with us. We want to call you out and shout you out here on the show. Feel free to do that. Feel free to subscribe to our channel if you want to check us out at a later date. You can check us out on your phone. And we're here on YouTube every day on the weekdays. Going into this weekend, guys. All right, let's check back in here for this departure, and we'll bring you some more live and breaking and video that's relevant to what's going on today very shortly, guys. And off he goes, guys. That was a live look at Air Force One, I guess, going on in the rain Still, there
look
it
at
is.
The rain, look at the rain, speaking of which.
Still going, and they do their thing. Speaking of that, I'm also flying this evening. Hopefully everything is fine. I think we just need to get out of this certain area, these clouds and this rain, and then hopefully I am clear. But there he goes, off to New York, where he will be greeted by this guy's live protests outside what I believe is outside the venue that he's speaking at, Suffolk County Community College in Brentwood on Long Island in New York. That's where he's speaking today. And you can see the crowds gathering there. Even looks like it's not quite raining there, but pretty cloudy and hazy.
Looks like overcast, but yeah, overcast.
And we're listening in now to a little bit of that natural sound on these protests. We'll take both shots for you guys so you can see both.
I just see it so tribal. It's so in-group fighting. It's like they don't even have any power. It's ridiculous.
The guy smashed your phone. Grandma goes postal on it too. That's probably her son.
That's what I said. Get rid of your fake teeth.
Come out. That's awesome. Oh my God. That's what it is. And a woman. No, I'm sorry. Thank you. Can we come over here though? Yeah, but I don't know where my cameraman was.
And he's here to protect their neighborhood and make their neighborhood safe. And look at the how they act. You know why? Because it's a different agenda. It's a different agenda going on. I live in Amityville. Okay. Nice area.
Facebook Live. Wow. That will exhibit the president and the AP's agenda to clean up this nasty gang that took over Brentwood and Central Islip area.
The citizens who instead of government.
Good support on both sides here tonight.
Well, did you get that on?
Okay, so you got people here from both sides. Again, I can show you from here. So now that
Bye-bye, MS-13. Bye-bye.
The one place I didn't want to go. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show what this is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Everything is free. Everything is free. That's it. You guys can't come up with any other shit. Fuck you.
This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
Brainwash democracy stuff like when it's like brainwash stuff.
We have well, Kristen was over here.
But we gotta do one like when he's done speaking. I just don't want to have lunatics screaming. Yeah, but yeah.
I was kind of going on the fence. But Kristen was right there.
All right, guys, taking you back inside the digital newsroom here. Thanks for watching with us and for bearing with us with some of our difficulties today. We're following the latest breaking news and live events, guys, going on across the country, across the world. And right now we have a live look, a live camera in at the Ohio State Fair in Columbus, Ohio. If you remember, this is a big story. The thrill ride that became a deadly accident. One died, and the injured ranged from ages 14 to 42. At least 2 are still in critical condition because of that from last night. Now we have a camera in there live. Let's take a look inside. What happened? Guys, right now a live look at the Ohio State Fair, and I'm seeing some of you guys have some thoughts on this. Can't imagine going to that state after what just happened. Really scary stuff. I was just telling Amber about the accident and what it sort of looked like. We were watching it yesterday. It was kind of all over social media first, and then the news took it. Looks like this video is a little rough. Looks like they might be putting it down. But thank you guys so much for your comments and for your thoughts today. Happening right now, actually, in the city of Austin. If we jump down to Texas right now, there's a press conference after they announced that all Ford SUVs are going to be pulled from service due to a carbon monoxide exposure concern. Really interesting stuff here. Let's go down to Austin, Texas, and listen in.
So I don't anticipate that this is going to be a huge problem, but I think some may have concerns, so I want to address that head on and just remind folks of the safety factors they can do on their own accord if they feel like this is happening to them. And the last thing will be the partnership with the community. How can you help us as we work together as a community to get through this? We are fortunate in Austin that we are a very technologically driven city, and we have a lot of things available to us. If you are calling to report a crime, and this is a crime where you believe your safety or somebody else's safety is in jeopardy, call 911 immediately. However, if it is not a life-threatening or an emergent situation, but you merely need an officer for a report or something like that, I encourage you in times like today, more so than ever, use our online app that we have through the APD app, use our online reporting, or use our 311 system. You can help us with the call load demand since we're going to be experiencing some challenges in that area. But I want to emphasize, if it is an emergency and you think yours or somebody else's safety is in jeopardy or there's a need for an immediate response, that is a 911 call. But in the circumstances I just described, that's a part the community can play by using those other resources. That's going to complete my comments. And again, as the city manager mentioned earlier, we will be available for questions at the conclusion. But Ms. Jennifer Walls is now going to come forward, the director of fleet, and provide some additional information from the city's fleet perspective.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Walls. I'm the interim fleet officer, and I want to start out by saying that we join the city manager and the police chief in reiterating that this health and safety of our employees is paramount. And to that end, also, the continuity of services to our citizens. To that end, what Fleet has done in response to this is install the carbon monoxide detectors in all of the city explorers as a first line of defense to protect our employees. We also issued safety bulletins to personnel as to what to do should an occurrence happen. Internally, we developed a fleet protocol so that when the detectors go off, the employees, the fleet takes possession of the vehicle and sends it to Ford for the technical services bulletin as directed by Ford. When we get the vehicle back from Ford, we test it again and issue the vehicle out if it doesn't have any problems. That has been our protocol. As these incidents have escalated, the risk to employees became too great. So we joined the city manager and the police chief in our decision to suspend the use of these vehicles until a determination can be made as to what the problem is. We've been in cooperation with Ford and NHTSA throughout this process, trying to find the answers. And until that occurs, we do feel like the suspension of the use is the best answer moving forward. We will also continue to support, as the chief said, APD in their operations and keeping vehicles available, making sure that officers have the vehicles that they need timely in order to perform their services. This is an ongoing, in a constantly evolving situation, and we are partnering with them to make sure they have what they need. So with that, in the end, we will maintain communications with NHTSA and Ford on the other end to make sure that we stay abreast of this investigation and find out what the determining factors are, and we'll develop a plan to continue from that point forward. We are also evaluating other mechanisms of how to increase fleet availability, examining other parts of the fleet and looking at our acquisition process in order to support that as well. So Chief Manley, I've dealt with so many of them, has kind of outlined our plan moving forward with regard to the transition of the vehicles, the Ford Explorers into the other police vehicles. Fleet is in full support with them there. We're part of the team. We'll be out there during that process. So that's where we stand right now, and at this time I'll turn it over to our medical personnel to talk about those issues.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Mark Escott. I'm the medical director for the Austin Travis County EMS system. My department has been involved in this process to provide consulting to the Austin Police Department in order to provide a medical risk assessment of the carbon monoxide exposures that we've been experiencing. In addition, we've been involved in the evaluation, treatment, and transport of the officers involved through our paramedics within the Austin and Travis County EMS system. Most commonly, carbon monoxide exposures are related to things like smoke inhalation from house fires. It's related to utilizing gas-powered equipment or barbecue grills within enclosed spaces. In this circumstance, the concern is related to vehicle exhaust exposure within the Ford Explorer systems. Because carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless, most people who've been exposed really have no idea until their symptoms become significant. To give you some perspective, the normal blood level of carbon monoxide is about 1%. In smokers, that can range from 3 to 8%, and sometimes even higher, depending on how much people are smoking. But we define toxicity at a level of 5% or greater. Most commonly, the symptoms associated with this low level of exposure are things like headache, nausea, and lightheadedness. As the toxicity grows, the symptoms become more significant. Things like chest pain, decreased consciousness, and eventually unconsciousness and death is possible, but only with extremely high levels. We also know that for individuals with underlying health conditions like heart disease or cerebrovascular disease, or those who are pregnant, the risk can become more significant. While carbon monoxide exposure can produce symptoms at that low level of 5%, the symptoms are generally mild and can be easily treated by leaving the environment that's causing the exposure or through administration of oxygen. The risk becomes much more significant if the exposure is not detected and there are prolonged periods of times over many hours that can result in more significant exposures. Similar to carbon monoxide detectors in the home, as soon as this issue became apparent regarding the Ford Explorers, the detectors, as the chief said, were installed in order to detect situations that may lead to dangerous levels within the blood. In our preliminary view of a portion of the cases involved, we found that when the alarm goes off and the officers exit the vehicle, that the blood levels of carbon monoxide are relatively low enough which can usually be treated with simple exposure to room air or administration of oxygen by EMS or by the hospital. In 2013, the City Council approved the purchase for our EMS providers of the Zoll X Series cardiac monitors, which in addition to its regular cardiac functions, monitoring heartbeats and oxygen saturation, also monitors carbon monoxide levels for every patient that we encounter. This device allows the EMS to detect the blood levels in close time proximity to when the exposure occurs, which will really allow us to have this new and critical tool for better assessment of our exposures. Over the coming days and weeks, we'll be working with the Austin Police Department, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and other stakeholders to perform a thorough assessment of each case to determine the overall health impact on our workforce. Further information regarding the health impact will be shared once the review is complete. That concludes my comments, and I'm going to ask the representative from the Austin Police Association to come forward.
Thank you. I want to take this time to thank City Manager and Chief of Police for taking this so seriously. It's unfortunate that it's come to this. Just to be very brief, the main concern from today going forward for us is going to be the long-term health of our officers, and we will make sure we work with the city in making sure they get the best treatment that they can get, and that's the only comments that I have for now.
So at this time, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Hart. What is the cost of pulling the Explorers and switching them out and then eventually replacing them? And do you have a ballpark or even an exact figure on how much it costs to purchase all 400 some?
We have not pulled together a cost estimate yet. We'll be working through alternatives. We may not have to replace the vehicles if they're repairable, but we're working with federal agencies and others and Ford to work through those issues. We will not have a cost estimate at this point.
How about in terms of re-outfitting some of the Explorers? You said that they were for street ready, but that some needed work.
Right. We We'll have a timesheet code that will allow us to capture that cost, but to date we don't have an estimate of that. They'll be working through the weekend, and they will be using those codings so we can capture the cost, much like we would for a flood event. Anytime we have a event like that in our city, we use those types of time codes to track the cost in case we are able to get reimbursement from federal agencies like FEMA.
For the last 2 weeks, it's been mentioned, at least 2 weeks, basically, that this is an option that was on the table, was being considered. What was the final straw, so to speak, to trigger this decision?
Well, I think, again, my comments were the volume, the number of incidents. A couple of weekends ago, we had 5 officers that had this issue, but it was the number and the severity and the risk to our employee base. We don't take that lightly. In other communities, we have had officers who have had accidents. They've lost consciousness and had accidents. So it's not only the officer's safety, it's also the community. If you lose consciousness and you're driving a patrol car, you can cross lanes into oncoming traffic. So it really was a risk assessment, and we needed to work through the investigations, get the federal agencies down here again, but it was one of protection of our employees and a risk assessment. We just couldn't go forward without taking some action at this time.
Mandy, my question is for you. I'm curious about take-home vehicles and, like detectives are assigned to vehicles. Any change-up going on there?
Yes, there will be several officers that will no longer be able to take their vehicles home. Most impacted are some of our highway enforcement groups, the DWI team, some of the highway response teams. Within highway response, we will take half of the vehicles because they carry some pretty specialized equipment with them, big scales for the trucks, things like that, that you can't just store. But those officers, although they will lose the take-home car, will still have the ability, obviously, when they come to work each evening, day shift, whatever it is, to check out a vehicle. We're in a position now where we don't have the ability to leave that car with them during their off-shift hours or the times when they're having to come back and forth to court. They'll have to do as other officers do and use personal vehicle.
And then those unmarked vehicles, any details you can put on them in the meantime, or how would you describe, what they could look like, the range of?
Sure. So the majority of them will be either the Ford Taurus or the Ford Crown Victoria. And when these lights come on, I guess probably the easiest way is it's not just going to be one flashing red light hanging off of a rearview mirror. These are equipped like and absolutely look like police cars when those lights go on. They are very well equipped. And so again, if individuals are uncertain, then that's the step we want them to take. Just to be clear.
People are going to hear this and hear, okay, all these SUVs are out. They may have an image of semi going out of the city with a bunch of police cars loaded on them. What's the process going to look like? What's happening to these cars? Are they going to be taken somewhere and evaluated? What are people going to see?
Right now, they're going to be stored until NHTSA and Ford come up with a solution, and then from that point forward, we will move forward whatever the recommendation is.
Where are they being stored?
That's yet to be determined. We have some places in mind, I think initially at some of the substations if they have space there.
One, just another question. So there are other departments using 42 vehicles. What all departments, and it mentions 4 incidents involving other departments. Is that just the services, or who has these experience?
It ranges across 8 different departments, and these are primarily administrative vehicles. In Parks and Recreation, the 4 that of concern were the Department of Transportation, Parks and Recreation, I believe 2 were Transportation, Parks and Recreation, and CTM, which is our technology group. Those were the 4. Yeah.
I'm sure about those incidents with 4 carbon monoxide incidents in other departments. Did detectives go off, or did those?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
As well?
Yes, those detectors went off in those vehicles, and we followed our normal protocol.
I'm not sure who to direct this to whether it's the manager or the chief. Is there any idea of a timeline or a target date to get this issue finally resolved?
From my perspective, until we get a determination from the investigators, what we do with the suspended vehicles, we'll have to wait until then. In the interim, we will work with APD and using other options in order to keep the city fleet available.
How long does this go on until it says we have to collect?
Well, we can't determine that at this time.
Do we know if this is a sign flaw from Ford, or did this come about from wear and tear of using the vehicle?
That all of that is still under investigation, and we just need to wait until that is completed.
Chief Manley, you said that there are going to be the same number of officers on patrol, but what kind of vehicle deficit are we looking at? Are we close to about 200 vehicles at peak hours being off the street?
Well, so no, not 200 vehicles being off. That what I gave you was the 206 was on the night where we have the most shifts out, and if every officer came to work that night. Our officers, like anybody else's workforce, we have some on vacation, we have some on sick. That's why we staff the way that we staff. So probably the cleanest answer is just we're going to have, you know, half of the vehicles, but it also means that there may be the opportunity that if we have additional cars on any given night, some officers may be able to ride solo. We're just setting it up to handle ourselves on the busiest time when we'll be doubled up.
Yeah, I know you said you didn't want to comment too much, but I do have a question for you. I think you might be able to expand upon. You obviously have spoken to these officers on a daily basis. You're hearing from families. What do you think the reaction in the sense is going to be from officers on patrol today when they hear of these efforts?
I think a lot of them will be relieved, and I think you'll also have some that haven't had problems with carbon monoxide yet, and they're going to be disappointed that they're having to ride with another person for an extended period of time. Once you get used to having your own car, that can be an issue. A lot of officers enjoy being doubled up, and a lot don't. But their safety comes first, and I've already expressed that to them, and I know there'll be some people that get upset with having their vehicles taken from them that are take home, but that's too bad. And the safety of our officers comes before anything.
What is the approximate cost of a fully equipped CPD Ford Explorer, bought new and outfitted, retrofitted?
We're looking around $60,000. That includes the vehicle and the cost of the radio and outfit. Yes.
Medically speaking, we've seen that the toxic levels are about 5 to 8%. What are some of the levels that you've seen from officers who've come in with carbon monoxide toxicity?
So again, my office has only reviewed a small number of the cases. Generally speaking, it's within that low range of toxicity. We define that as 5 to 15%. In fact, all the cases that we've reviewed have been within that range. Our job now is to look at the rest of the cases and see what the levels were initially on the EMS arrival, as well as the initial levels in the hospital. Some of these cases predate the installation of the CO detectors. We expect to see that those cases may be more significant because the officers didn't have the warning at that time to tell them to leave the vehicle.
What kind of long-term effects can this have? You still have officers on no duty. Do you know how long that might last for these particular officers?
So I don't want to comment on the status of individual officers. Generally speaking, carbon monoxide at low levels is not well known to cause long-term effects. However, at higher levels in those individuals who have pre-existing conditions as well, there can be some long-term complications in relation to memory, as well as some association with increased risk of Parkinson's disease.
Chief, anyone who's been arrested or detained, been to the jail, has anyone who's been arrested had any of these carbon monoxide effects?
No, we have no reports of that. And again, keep in mind our officers are in these cars for 10-hour shifts. And as the doctor explained earlier, that one of the issues could be just the level of the parts per million. The other could be the long-term exposure at lower levels. So the issue is that we have officers that are in these vehicles, for 8, 9, 10, 11 hours straight versus someone who is in a vehicle for a relatively short transport.
And to bring this back to that 3 officers with potentially long-term issues they're facing, possibly not being able to be a police officer again. This is downwardly heavily on you. What has that process been like?
I mean, it's devastating. I mean, any of us, you want your family members to be safe, and I've said from the day I took over and before that, this is my family. So we're dealing with an issue, and the reason we're doing what we're doing today, as I said earlier, this wasn't a decision that we made lightly, but I stand here confident that we're making the right decision today based on what we know with the carbon monoxide exposure issue that we've had and the impacts that it has had on our workforce. So I stand here confident that we're doing the right thing, and I pray for a speedy and full recovery for our officers that have been impacted.
3 more questions, folks. 3.
Sir, what is your biggest concern about the changeover this weekend?
Actually, the changeover itself, there's been a lot of pregame that's gone into this, and any big changeover could have an issue, but I think the way we have it designed, I'm not concerned that it's going to be difficult to implement the changeover. What the biggest challenge will be is just we're fundamentally changing the way that we have operated for my entire time here with single officer units, but parts of the country operate with 2 officer units. So it's just change, and we are poised to implement this, and I'm confident we'll do it successfully.
And city manager, could you tell us again, I know you talked, there wasn't an estimate yet, but could you tell us how the city's going to pay for this?
Well, it depends on what the solution is. If it's a repair, it would be operating expenses within the general fund. If it's replacement of the vehicles, we certainly could issue debt, contractual obligations to purchase the vehicles, or we could use cash that could be available. So it really depends on what the solution would be. Certainly our focus is to minimize the impact to our taxpayers. And so we'll be looking at all options. But again, we really need to work with the federal safety agencies and Ford to determine what our options are.
Last question.
Has the city been in contact with any other municipalities that you supported for?
Yes, we have been in contact. They've been contacting us. We as part of our outreach when this first occurred, we looked to other agencies as to what they were doing and finding out what their experiences.
And they were saying that they were reaching out to you to find out what was going on.
Yes.
Or to report what was happening.
Both ways. They were asking us what we were doing, and we also reached out to others. It's a wide range of responses that we got to. We're going to follow Austin's lead, or just basic questions about what we were doing. So
we're not alone.
No.
Guys, once again, you're watching this press conference live in Austin right now. It looks like it's wrapping up right here. Austin Police, this is law enforcement. They've pulled all 400 of their Ford SUVs after a possible carbon monoxide leak. So that's what you were watching just now. Looks like it's just wrapping up. But there have been months of reports of possible carbon monoxide leaks in these patrol vehicles that they utilize. And this was their presser to kind of announce that they're pulling them. And sort of a big announcement from the mayor and the city council and whatnot. So prior to this decision on Friday, I believe just 60 had been pulled, taken off the streets with reports of carbon monoxide leaks. There were incidents like accidents even in 2015 where the driver, the person driving, the police man or woman was sued because of the carbon monoxide leak. So it was a long time coming and bottling up and building up to now. And they are announcing that they're taking them all off. So we'll see where that goes from there. Guys, we're still looking at a live camera in New York, in Brentwood and on Long Island in New York, where President Trump is about to speak in the next 30 minutes or less on MS-13 gang violence, which is a problem that's sort of a hotbed area for that up there. And so let's check into that protest and bring you that live. Thanks for your comments, guys, too. Thanks for chatting with us. We're watching with you, and we're here to answer some questions. So let us know what you think. And thanks for, your comments on the show.
Or behind the other fence. Either in here or behind the other fence.
starting to rain. It might melt. Let's run. Get the war machine, guys. We had to work.
All right, guys, our feed went black for a moment. We're not sure if we're gonna get that back. I think there's a sort of a mishmash of protests there. There were protesters and counter protesters. Oh, there we go. We just got the feed. We might be covering it. All right, we might not be getting it. We're going back and forth with our feed. So we're gonna keep our eye on what's next, guys, and hopefully bring you President Trump. He's supposed to be speaking shortly. I'm sure we're gonna get that source in a little bit, and we'll see how long that goes. So you guys can join in with us and check it out. But Amber and I in the studio today, guys. Cam is off and off for the next week, and we're just hanging out, seeing what's new and what's live. I was trying to effort the vote from last night, but I actually can't quite find that video, so I'm still looking around for it in case you missed it. Pretty dramatic moments there on the Senate floor when Senator McCain, who was recently announced who has brain cancer, came out and voted no with a little bit of a gasp and horror from some of the other members in the Senate, and then walked away. And the healthcare bill repeal fail from last night. So pretty dramatic video. I wanted to kind of see if I could get that, but we'll look around a little more, and we'll jump back in when we have the president live on Long Island, guys. That's coming up next. Stay with us. Looks like the Capitol Dome is a little more clear now. There you go. We'll be right back. Hey guys, so we're back in the digital studio. We're gonna bring you now video from last night's healthcare vote. Just in case you missed it, you can kind of check in. Mitch McConnell gives a little talk afterwards along with Chuck Schumer. We'll see how much time we get through, and then we'll make sure we jump over to President Trump, who should be coming up shortly. So let's play out some of that video in case you missed it from late last night. All coming down. It was 49 to 51, yay, nay, in the Senate. Let's check it out now.
Turns out my grandfather was her photographer for 5 years.
Oh my God, check the contact.
To go forward. I also want to thank the President and the Vice President, who couldn't have been more involved and more helpful. So yes, this is a disappointment indeed. Our friends over in the House, we thank them as well. I regret that our efforts were simply not enough this time. Now imagine many of our colleagues on the other side are celebrating, probably pretty happy about all this. But the American people are hurting and they need relief. Our friends on the other side decided early on they didn't want to engage with us and in a serious way, to help those suffering under Obamacare. They did everything they could to prevent the Senate from providing a better way forward, including such things as reading amendments for endless amounts of time, such things as holding up nominations for key positions in the administration, because they were unhappy that we were trying to find a way to something better than Obamacare. So I expect that they are pretty satisfied tonight. I regret to say that they succeeded in that effort. So now I think it's appropriate to ask, what are their ideas? It'll be interesting to see what they suggest as the way forward. For myself, I can say, and I bet I'm pretty safe in saying for most of the people on this side of the aisle, that bailing out insurance companies with no thought of any kind of reform, it's not something I want to be part of. And I suspect there are not many folks over here that are interested in that. But it'll be interesting to see what they have in mind. Quadrupling down on the failures of Obamacare with a single payer system. We had that vote a little earlier, thanks to the senator from Montana. Almost everybody voted present. Apparently they didn't want to make a decision about whether they were for or against socialized medicine. The government takeover of everything. European health care. Only 4 of them weren't afraid to say they didn't think that was a good idea. So maybe that's what they want to offer. We'll be happy to have that debate with the American people. So, it's time for our friends on the other side to tell us what they have in mind. And we'll see how the American people feel about their ideas. So I regret that we're here, but I want to say again, I'm proud of the vote I cast tonight. It's consistent with what we told the American people we'd try to accomplish in 4 straight elections if they gave us a chance. And I want to thank all of my colleagues on this side of the aisle for everything they did to try to keep that commitment. What we tried to accomplish for the American people was the right thing for the country. And our only regret tonight, our only regret, is that we didn't achieve what we had hoped to accomplish. I think the American people are going to regret that we couldn't find a better way forward. And as I said, we look forward to our colleagues on the other side suggesting what they have in mind. So now, Mr. President, it's time to move on. And I ask unanimous consent that at 10 a.m. on Friday, July 28th, that's tomorrow, the Senate proceed to consideration of calendar number 175, H.R. 2810, the House passed National Defense Authorization Bill.
Mr. President.
Objection?
I object.
The objection is heard.
I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Give us a second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.
Leader?
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Is there objection? Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first, let me say it's been a long, long road for both sides. Each side had sincere convictions, and we're at this point. So I would suggest, I want to say 3 things. First, I would suggest we turn the page. It's time to turn the page. I would say to my dear friend, the Majority Leader, we are not celebrating. We are relieved that millions and millions of people who would have been so drastically hurt by the 3 proposals put forward will at least retain their health care, be able to deal with pre-existing conditions, deal with nursing homes and opioids that Medicaid paid for. We are relieved. Not for ourselves, but for the American people. But as I said over and over again, Obamacare was hardly perfect. It did a lot of good things, but it needs improvement. And I hope one part of turning that page is that we go back to regular order, work in the committees together to improve Obamacare. We have good leaders, the senator from Tennessee and the senator from Washington, the senator from Utah, the senator from Oregon. They have worked well together in the past and can work well together in the future. There are suggestions that we are interested in that come from members on the other side of the aisle, the senator from Maine, the senator from Louisiana. So let's turn the page and work together to improve our health care system. And let's turn the page in another way. All of us were so inspired by the speech and the life of the senator from Arizona. And he asked us to go back to regular order, to bring back the Senate that some of us who were here, have been here a while, remember. Maybe this can be a moment where we start doing that. Both sides will have to give. The blame hardly falls on one side or the other. But if we can take this moment, a solemn moment, and start working this body the way it had always worked until the last decade or so, with both sides to blame for the deterioration, we will do a better job for our country, a better job for this body, a better job for ourselves. And finally, I'm glad that the leader asked us to move to NDAA. We need to do it. I can say on this side of the aisle, we will move expeditiously. I know that the senator from Rhode Island has worked with the senator from Arizona on a list of amendments that can be agreed to, and we can finish this bill up rather quickly. And as I mentioned to the majority leader, there are some other things we can do rather quickly, including moving a whole lot of nominations. So we can work together. Our country demands it. Every place in every corner of the world, of the country where we go, the number one thing we are asked, and I know this because I've talked to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, is can't you guys work together? Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. I yield the floor.
So guys, that was it. I'm gonna bring it back inside, just replaying some video from last night in case you missed it, because that was a live feed last night that was very late. So a lot of people actually didn't catch it last night. In fact, our own station, we didn't even have it on our live stream because it was so late in the evening.
Yeah, they said it was like occurring at 2 o'clock this morning, so.
And they eventually, yeah, I think everything kind of fell out and was concluded around 2. And then there were some rallies and celebrations at the Capitol. I'd seen some video of that. So anyway, just some speeches there on the floor. Obviously, Chuck Schumer getting a little bit emotional. I had heard that. He had teared up a little bit, referencing Senator McCain and whatnot. So just an interesting thing to go so late, a big night there. I was getting all my alerts on my phone later on in the evening. But guys, just want to welcome you and say hey. Thanks for watching the stream. You're watching Fox 5 Live at Fox 5 DC. We are the digital newsroom, and we're going to just bring you live stuff, all what's going on today. Right now, up in New York, remember we're waiting on President Trump to speak. We have a feed coming in right now. This is the podium. That's what it looks like as they get ready for that. It should be coming shortly. We'll see kind of what the time frame is like, but there he is. The setup, and he's going to be speaking to local law enforcement. So you see the law enforcement there behind the podium there on stage. This should be quite interesting. We'll see what we can get from this. Bring up a little sound for you. Just checking in though, guys. If you like our stream and you want to watch more of it, you can check in with us on the weekdays around 11 a.m. is when we go up. And just check in with us on YouTube here. You can click that button, that red button on your screen that says subscribe, so that you can be alerted as to when we're up and what kind of headlines we're covering for the day. Things change kind of by the moment, and all the video is live and raw and unedited as always. So we just want to get it out to you guys and have a good little show for you. So join us on the weekdays. We'll be back on Monday, and we'll roll out our show a little bit here on Friday. But we'll check back in. We'll see how much we can get of this speech up in Long Island. Earlier we saw those protests outside of what I believe was this kind of center, this building. This is Suffolk County Community College, is where he's speaking to the law enforcement there. So we'll see how long this goes and go from there, guys. Let me know if you have any thoughts or questions, as always, on the stream, and we'll come back to you. Guys, you're watching Fox 5 Live here as we bring you this coverage of President Trump talking about MS-13 gang violence, which is a particular problem in this area where he is speaking today. This is Suffolk County on Long Island, and he's speaking to local law enforcement there. Now, MS-13 has been a running problem, even down here, local to the DMV. Big time problem in Virginia. We've been following a lot of those stories here at Fox 5 DC, specifically stories across the months, really, about some of this gang violence and what it's caused and the crackdown, how various counties surrounding the district, so in Maryland and Virginia, are cracking down on this. This will be really interesting to hear from the president. We've heard, even at the podium at the White House press briefings before Sean Spicer left, resigned, he was press secretary and often sort of would talk about the happenings of the day and President Trump and what he was doing to combat that. He would get some questions about it too, because it was a heated issue, a big time issue in the news, and it's important. So to hear from the president now, to hear sort of this side of it is a big deal, and this is very relevant to our area. So if any of you guys are from this local area, I know it's kind of mixed on the stream, but maybe some of you are from the DC, Maryland, or Virginia area, you might know that you've heard of some of the stuff that's been happening and how it still needs to be cracked down upon, and still a lot of work to be done there. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about this issue, speaking to law enforcement about it in a place that is a hotbed of this type of activity. So that's what we're looking at now, guys. This should be hopefully happening any moment now or in the next few. Obviously, they're ready and waiting, so we'll just see who introduces the president and then go from there to see what happens here. All right, guys, as always, comment away on the chat board. We want to hear from you and what you think, and this should be starting shortly, so we'll check back in with you also. You're watching Fox 5 Live from Fox 5 DC's digital newsroom. Right now we're getting in a little bit of video that's playback of the president boarding his plane. We saw that earlier at Joint Base Andrews, Air Force One, taking off in the rain to come up here where this is all ready. Looks like it should be starting in a little bit. Let's check in to see what's up. right, guys, thanks so much for hanging on with us here. You're watching Fox 5 Live. We were hoping to start it at like 1:40, but my guess is they put that in as the time and pushing it to perhaps 2 o'clock, which it's nearing now. So thanks for watching with us and hanging on to our stream. President Trump is next, and we'll see if there's sort of an introduction or some type of thing before he comes on. But I see somebody in the corner there. It looks like probably a few minutes warning or something is going on, but it looks like all the law enforcement are ready, waiting in the wings there on stage. He'll be essentially speaking to them about this topic, this very relevant, heated topic, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are interested in on the stream. So let us know what you think here. And if you have any thoughts or comments, you're watching from Fox 5 DC. This is Washington, D.C.'s local newsroom, our digital desk, bringing you the live sources of the day. This will be our last big one of today, and then we'll bring it back inside the studio for a little close. Yeah, check it out, guys. Hopefully starting in a few minutes. I'm Molly Nevola here in studio with intern Amber helping me out on this Friday. So please do stay with us and let us know what you think. Guys, a little bit of breaking news also on the relevant front to President Trump. Charlie Gard, the little baby, the incurably ill British infant, we talked about him a little bit on the show, has passed away. If you remember, this was a long sort of emotional legal battle, his fight for life and whether or not he was going to be able to come over to the States for treatment. President Trump had a little say in that, or a little support for that, but he did actually pass away today. He died a week before his first birthday. This is the day after the court ruled that he could be moved to a hospice and his life support could be withdrawn. So that's the breaking news from Great Britain there, guys. And his story really did touch a lot of people because it became big international news. And I'm actually curious if President Trump will throw that in, or anything of that matter, possibly someone getting word of this breaking news, throw that into the beginning of his speech here. Or the end, just because he was sort of slightly involved in that, and we remember that he was tweeting about it when there was this whole legal battle with the parents of this little infant baby. So just a little bit of breaking news for you guys. Still waiting on the president here to come out, and hopefully this gets started very shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Acting Director of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, Mr. Thomas Homan.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Homan. I'm the Acting Director for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as I.S.S. As a career law enforcement officer, I want to begin by saying thank you. The work we've chosen, the job we do is tough, and I'm honored to serve alongside so many American patriots in this room today. To my fellow I.S.S. officers and agents in this room, thank you for the privilege of serving alongside you. I want to especially recognize the Suffolk County PD, the Nassau County PD, the NYPD for their ongoing partnership in Operation Matador, which is dedicated to combating MS-13 in New York City and Long Island, and has thus so far resulted in over 100 arrests. Here in Long Island, I.S.S. agents collaborate with both Nassau and Suffolk counties to work gang cases, share intelligence, and develop cases for prosecution. We're here today to send a clear message to MS-13 and all other criminal gangs. You are not welcome here, and you will not find safe harbor. President Trump has made it a priority to get these criminals off the street. And if they are in the U.S. illegally, out of the country. That's exactly what the men and women of I.S.S. are going to do to keep America safe. Our efforts to target and dismantle MS-13 cannot be successful without strong partnerships between law enforcement agencies at the federal, state, and local levels. Let me be clear. We will be relentless in our pursuit of every member, associate, and leader of MS-13. From the command and control element in El Salvador to the lone gang member walking within our communities, we will target all of you. We will bring a laser focus to the absolute destruction of this cowardly organization that terrorizes the most vulnerable in our country. It's time for the victimization and the fear in our communities to end. However, it's time for every member of MS-13 to be in fear. Look over their shoulder, look in their rearview mirror, because I.S.S. and its partners are coming hard, and we're coming strong. At this time, it is my privilege and honor to introduce the tremendous advocate for I.S.S., for the rule of law, an advocate for everybody in law enforcement, your Congressman, Peter King.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. What a great day to welcome President Trump back to Long Island. Tom, thank you for your great work, what you're doing with all the men and women of I.S.S. Let me also acknowledge the members of Congress who are traveling with me here today, one of whom you all know from the neighboring district, Congressman Lee Zeldin. Another guy's almost up in Canada, up in the Buffalo area, Erie County, Chris Collins. And then if you take the ferry boat over to Staten Island, you find Dan Donovan, a great guy. And let me acknowledge all the men and women of law enforcement here today, the local police, the state police, the federal law enforcement, for the outstanding job that you do. Let me thank you for your service, and let me tell you that you will have you can never have a greater advocate in the White House than President Trump. He is... President Trump knows that blue lives do matter. President Trump will always be in your corner. He will always have your back. Now, MS-13 is a brutal gang of vicious murderers. And we have here today several family members, Freddy Cuevas, Evelyn Rodriguez. They have personally gone through the horrible anguish that resulted from these vicious murders that have been carried out. But I can tell you personally, from my conversations in the White House with President Trump, from phone calls he makes to my kitchen on a Sunday morning, that he is absolutely committed to devastating and decimating and destroying MS-13. This is an absolute obsession he has. Whenever you talk to him about it, he is absolutely dedicated, and he is going to get that job done. MS-13 is going to be destroyed, and we're not going to worry about political correctness. President Trump stands with the good people of Central Islip and Brentwood. He stands with the people of Long Island and with the people of America. He stands with us, he speaks for us, and he fights for us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if I would be allowed from one guy who grew up in Queens to another, it's my privilege to introduce the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. This is certainly being home for me. I spent a lot of time right here. I was in Queens, so I'd come here, and this was like the luxury location for me. And I love it. I love the people here. Even coming in from the airport, I sat with Nikki Haley, who's here someplace. Where's our Nikki? Ambassador Nikki Haley, who was so incredible. And she's seen crowds in her life, and she said, boy, those are really big crowds. Crowds of people all lining the streets all the way over to here, and it's really a special place. And so when I heard about this, I said, I want to do that one. But I really wanted to do it not because of location, but because, as you know, I am the big, big believer and admirer of the people in law enforcement, okay? From day one. From day one. We love our police, we love our sheriffs, and we love our ICE officers. And they have been working hard. Thank you. They have been working hard. Together, we're going to restore safety to our streets and peace to our communities. And we're going to destroy the vile criminal cartel MS-13 and many other gangs. But MS-13 is particularly violent. They don't like shooting people because it's too quick. It's too fast. I was reading one of these animals was caught and explaining they like to knife them and cut them and let them die slowly because that way it's more painful and they enjoy watching that much more. These are animals. We're joined today by police and sheriffs from Suffolk, Nassau, Dutchess, and Ulster counties, state police from New York and New Jersey. Many of you I know, great friends. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers and law enforcement personnel from a number of federal agencies. So we're loaded up with great people, that's what I call it. And I want to just tell you all together right now, and the reason I came, this is the most important sentence to me, on behalf of the American people, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I don't think you know how much the public respects and admires you. You're saving American lives every day, and we have your backs. Believe me, we have your backs 100%. Not like the old days. Not like the old days. You know, when you want to take over used military equipment, they were saying you couldn't do it. You know what I said? That was my first day. You can do it. In fact, that stuff is disappearing so fast we have none left. You guys know it. You really knew how to get that. But that's my honor. And I'll tell you what, it's being put to good use. I especially want to thank I.S. Director Tom Homan, who has done an incredible job in just a short period of time. Tom, get up here. I know you just spoke. Tom is determined to rid our nation of cartels and criminals who are preying on our citizens. And I can only say to Tom, keep up the great work. He's a tough guy. He's a tough cookie. Somebody said the other day, they saw him on television, they were interviewed after that. They said, he looks very nasty. He looks very mean. I said, that's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I was looking for. And for that, I want to congratulate John Kelly, who has done an incredible job of Secretary of Homeland Security. Incredible. One of our real stars. Truly one of our stars. John Kelly is one of our great stars. You know, the border's down 78%. Under past administrations, the border didn't go down, it went up. But if it went down 1%, it was like this was a great thing. Down 78%. And in fact, the southern border of Mexico, we did them a big favor, believe me. They get very little traffic in there anymore because they know they're not going to get through the border to the United States. So that whole group has been incredible, led by General Kelly. Let me also express our gratitude to the members of the New York delegation here today. Congressman Chris Collins, where's Chris? Where's Chris? Oh, Chris, right from the beginning, he said Trump is going to win. Trump is going to win. That's why I like him. I didn't like him that much before. Now I love him. I'll never... Dan Donovan. Thanks, Dan. Thank you, Dan. And Lee Zeldin, who I supported right from the beginning when they said he didn't have a chance of beating a pretty popular incumbent. And I saw him in a debate. I said, I think this guy's going to win. But he fought a pretty popular guy. And I said, I think he's going to win. And went heavy for him, and he won. And he won pretty easily, didn't you? Pretty good. I'm proud of you. Great job. And of course, a legend, somebody that we all know very well, sort of my neighbor, because I consider him a neighbor, but he's really a great and highly respected man in Washington, Congressman Peter King. Peter. Very respected guy. He is a respected man that people like to ask opinions of. I do. Congressman King and his colleagues know the terrible pain and violence MS-13 has inflicted upon this community and this country. And if you remember, just a little more than 2 years ago, when I came down the escalator with Melania, and I made the speech, people coming into this country, everyone said, what does he know? What's he talking about? And there was Bedlam. Remember Bedlam? And then about 2 months later, they said, you know, he's right. So I'm honored to have brought it to everybody's attention. But the suffering and the pain that we were going through, and now you can look at the numbers, it's a whole different world. And it will get better and better and better because we've been able to start nipping it in the bud. We've nipped it in the bud. Let's call it start nipping it in the bud. And MS-13, the cartel, has spread gruesome bloodshed throughout the United States. We've gotten a lot of them out of here. Big, big percentage, but the rest are coming. They'll be out of here quickly, right? Quickly. Good. So I asked Tom on the plane. He was never in Air Force One. I said, how do you like it? He said, I like it. But I said, hey, Tom, let me ask you a question. How tough are these guys, MS-13? He said, they're nothing compared to my guys. Nothing. And that's what you need. Sometimes that's what you need, right? For many years, they exploited America's weak borders and lax immigration enforcement to bring drugs and violence to cities and towns all across America. They're there right now because of weak political leadership, weak policing, and in many cases because the police weren't allowed to do their job. I've met police that are great police that aren't allowed to do their job because they have a pathetic mayor or a mayor doesn't know what's going on. But yeah. Were you applauding for someone in particular? It's sad. It's sad. You look at what's happening, it's sad. But hopefully, certainly in the country, those days are over. You may have a little bit longer to wait. But from now on, we're going to enforce our laws, protect our borders, and support our police like our police have never been supported before. We're going to support you like you've never been supported before. Few communities have suffered worse at the hands of these MS-13 thugs than the people of Long Island. Hard to believe. I grew up on Long Island. I didn't know about this. And then all of a sudden, this is like a new phenomena. Our hearts and our nation grieve for the victims and their families. Since January 16th, think of this. MS-13 gang members have brutally murdered 17 beautiful young lives in this area on Long Island alone. Think of it. They butchered those little girls. They kidnap, they extort, they rape, and they rob. They prey on children. They shouldn't be here. They stomp on their victims. They beat them with clubs. They slash them with machetes. And they stab them with knives. They have transformed peaceful parks and beautiful, quiet neighborhoods into blood-stained killing fields. They're animals. We cannot tolerate, as a society, the spilling of innocent, young, wonderful, vibrant people, sons and daughters, even husbands and wives. We cannot accept this violence one day more. Can't do it. And we're not going to do it. Because of you, we're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to allow it to happen. And we're backing you up 100%. Remember that. 100%. It is the policy of this administration to dismantle, decimate, and eradicate MS-13 at every other, and I have to say, MS-13, that's a name, rough groups, that's fine. We got a lot of others. And they were all let in here over a relatively short period of time. Not during my period of time, believe me. But we're getting them out. They go into jails, and then they're going back to their country. Or they're going back to their country, period. One by one, we're liberating our American towns. Can you believe that I'm saying that? I'm talking about liberating our towns. It's like I'd see in a movie. They're liberating the town. Like in the old Wild West, right? We're liberating our towns. I never thought I'd be standing up here talking about liberating the towns on Long Island, where I grew up. But that's what you're doing. And I can tell you, I saw some photos where Tom's guys, rough guys, they're rough. I don't want to be, say it because they'll say that's not politically correct. You're not allowed to have rough people doing this kind of work. We have to get, just like they don't want to have rich people at the head of Treasury. Okay? Like I want a rich guy at the head of Treasury, right? I want a rich guy at the head of commerce because we've been screwed so badly on trade deals. I want people that made a lot of money now to make a lot of money for our country. And by the way, as I was walking up, they just gave me the numbers. Our numbers were just came out this morning. GDP is up double from what it was in the first quarter. 2.6%. We're doing well. We're doing really well, and we took off all those restrictions, and some we're statutorily stuck with for a little while, but eventually that statute comes up, and we're going to be able to cut a lot more. But we've sort of liberated the world of creating jobs, like you're liberating us and the people that live in areas. But I have to say, one by one, we are indeed freeing up these great American towns and cities that are under siege from gang violence. Look at Los Angeles. Look at what's going on in Los Angeles. Look at Chicago. What is going on? Is anybody here from Chicago? We have to send some of you to Chicago, I think. What's going on? I mean, do you see what's happening there? Do we agree? Is there something maybe? Is there something? I have to tell you one Chicago story. So Chicago is having this unbelievable violence. People being killed, 4, 5, 6 in a weekend. And I'm saying, what is going on? And when I was running, we had motorcycle brigades take us to the planes and stuff. And one of the guys, really good, you could see a really respected officer, police officer. He was at the head. He was the boss. And you could see he was the boss. He actually talked like the boss. Come on, get lined up, because I'd always take pictures with the police because I did that. My guy said, don't do it, don't do it. Other candidates didn't do it that I was beating by 40 points. Can you believe it? But I did it. Maybe that's why I was winning by 40 points. But other candidates wouldn't do it. But I always took the pictures with the police. But we're in Chicago, and we have massive motorcycle brigades. And, you know, those people have to volunteer. I don't know if you know that, but from what I understand, they have to volunteer. And I had the biggest brigades. I had brigades sometimes with almost 300 motorcycles. Even I was impressed. I'd look ahead, and it was nothing but motorcycles because they'd volunteer from all over various states. But there's one guy who was impressive. He was a rough cookie and really respected guy. I could see he was respected. And he said, all right, come on, get over here, get over here. He's got to get to work, get over here. And I said, so let me tell you, you're from Chicago? Yes, sir. I said, what the hell is going on? And he said, it's a problem can be straightened out. I said, how long would it take you to straighten out this problem? He said, if you gave me the authority, a couple of days. I really mean it. I said, you really think so? He said, a couple of days. We know all the bad ones. We know them all. He said, the officers, you guys, you know all the bad ones in your area. You know them by their names. He said, we know them all. A couple of days. I said, you got to be kidding. Now, this is 1.5 years ago. I said, give me your card. And he gave me a card. And I sent it to the mayor. I said, you ought to try using this guy. Guess what happened? Never heard. And last week they had another record. It's horrible. But we're just getting started. We will restore law and order on Long Island. We'll bring back justice to the United States. I'm very happy to have gotten a great, great justice of the United States Supreme Court, not only nominated, but approved. And by the way, your Second Amendment is safe. Your Second Amendment is safe. Feel very good about that. Wasn't looking so good for the Second Amendment, was it, huh? Trump doesn't win, your Second Amendment is gone. Your Second Amendment would be gone. But I have a simple message today for every gang member and criminal alien that are threatening so violently our people. We will find you, we will arrest you, we will jail you, and we will deport you. And you know, we had some problems with certain countries. Still do with a couple, but we'll take care of them. Don't worry about it. Anytime we have a trade deficit, it's very easy, which is almost everywhere. We have trade deficits with almost every country because we had a lot of really bad negotiators making deals with other countries. So it's almost everywhere, so that takes care of itself. But we had certain countries in South America where they wouldn't take the people back. I said, that's okay, no more trade. All of a sudden, they started taking their people back. It's amazing, isn't it? They used to send to the former Secretary of State, the country, please call, would you please work it so that we can take, and they used to just tell her, no, we won't take back. They take back with us every single time. We're having very little problem. Are we having any problem right now with that? Huh? You better believe it. Give me the names of the few problems. We'll take care of it, this, telling you. It's unbelievable. One of the people that represented the other administration, I said, why didn't you use that, the power of economics? Sir, we think one thing has nothing to do with another. I said, oh, really? So we'll have big deficits and they won't take back these criminals that came from there and should be back there? Well, believe me, to me, everything matters. But they're all taking them back. I.S. officers recently conducted the largest crackdown on criminal gangs in the history of our country. In just 6 weeks, ICE and our law enforcement partners arrested nearly 1,400 suspects and seized more than 200 illegal firearms and some beauties and nearly 600 pounds of narcotics. The men and women of ICE are turning the tide in the battle against MS-13. But we need more resources from Congress, and we're getting them. Congress is actually opening up and really doing a job. They should have approved health care last night, but you can't have everything. Boy, oh boy. They've been working on that one for 7 years. Can you believe that? The swamp. But we'll get it done. We're going to get it done. You know, I said from the beginning, let Obamacare implode and then do it. I turned out to be right. Let Obamacare implode. Right now, we have less than 6,000 enforcement and removal officers in ICE. This is not enough to protect a nation of more than 320 million people. It's essential that Congress fund another 10,000 ICE officers, and we're asking for that, so that we can eliminate MS-13 and root out the criminal cartels from our country. Now, we're getting them out anyway, but we'd like to get them out a lot faster. And when you see these towns, and when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their hand over. Like, don't hit their head, and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay? It's essential that Congress fund hundreds more federal immigration judges and prosecutors, and we need them quickly, quickly. If we're going to dismantle these deadly networks, and I have to tell you, you know, the laws are so horrendously stacked against us because for years and years they've been made to protect the criminal. Totally made to protect the criminal, not the officers. You do something wrong, you're in more jeopardy than they are. These laws are stacked against you. We're changing those laws. But in the meantime, we need judges for the simplest things that you should be able to do without a judge. But we have to have those judges quickly. In the meantime, we're trying to change the laws. We're also working with Chairman Bob Goodlatte on a series of enforcement measures, and he's a terrific guy, to keep our country safe from crime and terrorism, and in particular, radical Islamic terrorism. A term never uttered by past administration. Never uttered. Did anybody ever hear that term? I don't think so. But you heard it from me. That includes cracking down on sanctuary cities that defy federal law, shield visa overstays, and that release dangerous criminals back into the United States communities. That's what's happening. They're releasing them. So many deaths where they release somebody back into the community. And they know it's going to end that way. That's the sad. They know it's going to end that way. We're ending those procedures. We have to secure, thank you. I spoke to parents, incredible parents. I got to know so many parents of children that were so horribly killed, burned to death, beaten to death, just the worst kind of death you can ever, stuffed in barrels. And the person that did it was released, and you'd look at the file, and there were letter after letter after letter of people begging not to let this animal back into society, that this would happen. It would happen quickly. It wasn't even like it would happen over a long period of time. They were saying it would happen quickly. It's total violence. He's a totally violent person. You cannot let this person out. They let the person out, and sometimes it would happen like on the first day. And then you have to talk to the parents and hold the parents and hug them, and they're crying. Crying, their lives are destroyed. And nobody thinks about those people. They don't think about those people. They're devastated. But we're ending so much of that. We're ending, hopefully, all of that. The laws are tough. The laws are stacked against us, but we're ending it. So we're going to secure our border against illegal entry, and we will build the wall. That I can tell you. In fact, last night, you don't read about this too much, but it was approved $1.6 billion for the phase 1 of the wall, which is not only design, but the start of construction over a period of about 2 years, but the start of construction for a great border wall. And we're going to build it. The wall is vital, and vital is a tool for ending the humanitarian disaster brought on by drug smugglers. And new words that we haven't heard too much of, human traffickers. This is a term that's been going on from the beginning of time, and they say it's worse now than it ever was. You go back 1,000 years where you think of human trafficking. You go back 500 years, 200 years, 100 years. Human trafficking, they say, think of it, what they do, human trafficking is worse now, maybe, than it's ever been in the history of this world. We need a wall. We also need it, though, for the drugs, because the drugs aren't going through walls very easily, especially the walls that I build. I'm a very good builder. You people know that better than most because you live in the area. That's why I'm here. We'll build a good wall. No, we're going to build a real wall. We're going to build a wall that works. And it's going to have a huge impact on the inflow of drugs coming across. The wall is almost, that could be one of the main reasons you have to have it. It's an additional tool to stop the inflow of drugs into our country. The previous administration enacted an open-door policy to illegal immigrants from Central America. Welcome in. Come in, please. Please. As a result, MS-13 surged into the country and scoured and just absolutely destroyed so much in front of it. New arrivals came in, and they were all made recruits of each other, and they fought with each other, and then they fought outside of each other, and it got worse and worse, and we've turned that back. In the 3 years before I took office, more than 150,000 unaccompanied alien minors arrived at the border and were released all throughout our country into United States communities at a tremendous monetary cost to local taxpayers and also a great cost to life and safety. Nearly 4,000 from this wave were released into Suffolk County. Congratulations. Including 7 who are now indicted for murder. You know about that. In Washington, D.C. region, at least 42 alien minors from the border surge have been recently implicated in MS-13 related violence, including 19 charged in killings or attempted killings. You say, what happened to the old days where people came into this country? They worked and they worked and they worked and they had families and they paid taxes and they did all sorts of things and their families got stronger and they were closely knit. We don't see that. Failure to enforce our immigration laws had predictable results: drugs, gangs, and violence. But that's all changing now. Under the Trump administration, America is once more a nation of laws, and once again, a nation that stands up for our law enforcement officers. We will defend our country, protect our communities, and put the safety of the American people first. And I'm doing that with law enforcement, and we're doing that with trade, and we're doing that with so much else. It's called America First. It's called an expression I'm sure you've never heard of: make America great again. Has anybody heard that expression? You heard that? That is my promise to each of you. That is the oath I took as president. And that is my sacred pledge to the American people. Thank you, everyone here today. You are really special, special Americans. And thank you in particular to the great police, sheriffs, and ICE officers. You do a spectacular job. The country loves you. The country respects you. You don't hear it, but believe me, they respect you as much as they respect anything there is to respect about our country. You are spectacular people. Because of the danger of your job, which people also understand fully, I leave you with the following. Thank you, and may God bless you. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So there you have it, guys. President Trump in Long Island, a place that he is no stranger to, promising to dismantle and eradicate MS-13. Lots of talk, of course, about that to the local law enforcement there who are behind him. We tried to bring you that cuts video as well so you can kind of see their reactions throughout. A few mentions of healthcare as well in there is what I noticed. And thank you guys for joining along. It was great to see some of your comments. Jackie and Douglas and Nostalgic Soul, thanks for joining with us on this stream, guys. We're going to close out the show with this. This will be our final scene for the day. But just remember, you can always join us on the weekdays, guys, at 11 o'clock a.m. We bring you the midday live and breaking news on our sources. This was one of them today in Long Island. And with this, we'll roll out the show for the weekend. And we'll see you back here on Monday, guys. You can always click subscribe if you like the channel, if you want to see when we are up. You can get alerted as to when we come up on YouTube here. Follow along with us, and we'll see you Monday at 11 o'clock. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Enjoy the rest of the ceremony. Thank you.